Getting your heart broken creates so much necessity to figure out who you are, what you want, where you went wrong, and don't fall into the trap of thinking it's always your partner's fault.
And so you started getting outside your comfort zone. You started buying clothes. You started taking care of yourself. You started talking to strangers in the mall. You started reaching out to mentors and reading books. And I think that's awesome. So Lonely Land sucks. Make it suck less by doing something with it.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode number 1512. Consistent 70% days are better than spotty 100% days. We did a little bit of math. Most of it most likely was incorrect, but math nonetheless. Today, for episode number 1513, an open conversation about heartbreak. Before we get going, we're going to try something here. We're going to try something new. I want to give a shout out to a new NLU family member. It's either Callie or Kaylee. I'm not sure which one. I was going to say Callie, but I don't know. It's spelt where it could be either way. So I just want to give a shout out to our new NLU family member. Alan, you also had someone new to the community you wanted to shout out.
Yes. I got an email today from Amanda, and let me see if I can pull it up here. I thought we were going to do this at the end. That's my bad.
No. We are doing it now.
That's on me. She said, new listener, short-term listener, excited on what people are reading these days. Please add me to book club.
Welcome.
And then she actually just emailed me. She said, please share which book and what chapters are currently being discussed. Thank you so much. Yeah, so shout out to Amanda. I will be getting back to you as soon as I can.
Welcome. All right. An open conversation about heartbreak. Alan and I are both very fulfilled and very happy and very in love in our relationship, so nothing happened. We're not doing an episode for that reason. But I've been thinking a lot about this, and our podcast is Health, Wealth, and Love. And when you're struggling financially, when you're potentially struggling with your physical body, or you're struggling with a relationship, those are the most challenging times to overcome. And I was thinking back to before Taryn, my last serious relationship was something I thought was going to last a while. I thought I was going to be with this person for a long period of time. And this is the person who wanted to go chase their dreams, and I was just a very insecure man who was not capable of supporting someone, and I didn't have the confidence to be with somebody like that. But I'll never forget, when she left, I was so heartbroken. I was devastated. Because you start asking yourself the questions of, who could love me? Am I broken? Was this the person I was supposed to be with? Am I ever going to find someone like this? You start asking yourself all these really challenging, real questions. And I'll never forget this. This was probably like a month after we had broken up, and we hadn't talked. We broke up. She came and got her stuff the next week. That was it. That was the end of our conversations. And she texted me out of the blue one day, probably like a month later, and I was in the gym. And she said, hey, I just wanted you to know, and I wanted you to hear it from me, that I'm dating someone new. And I Hadoukened my phone like 15 feet in the gym. I was like, no. How dare you? What do you mean? Why are you texting? What do you mean? Who else am I going to find it out from? We don't talk to any of the same people. I don't follow you on social media anymore. This is terrible. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you trying to make my life miserable? Damn it. I had a really good workout, though. The rest of my workout was really, really, really good.
I bet.
But I was just so heartbroken. I was devastated. I thought this was going to be it. We moved in together. This is the first person I'd ever gotten my own place with. We got a place together with the intention of living together. And then she ended up leaving me like 6 months later. It was devastating. I remember, though, I don't think I've ever told this story before. I was pretty close with my landlord. So I rented a duplex. I rented this nice duplex. And my landlord was cool. He was a cool dude. He owned the side that I lived in. I rented it from him. And to the point where one day he was mowing the lawn, and I was like, hey, man, it's hot out here. You want a beer? Like, come on in and hang out for a bit. We were pretty close. We were buddy-buddy. After my girlfriend broke up with me, obviously I had to let him know that for some reason. I don't know why I even did. But he's like, hey, I'm going to have to take your ex to court to make sure I get my rent money. And I was like, absolutely not. No. We don't have to do that. No. This is getting ugly, man. No. I promise, no matter what it takes, I will cover the rent and you will not know anything has changed. You have my word. I promise. And at this point, I was very broke. When my girlfriend at the time left me, work was super slow. I was just coming off of the bodybuilding show I did. So I was in a very bad place. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Why are you laughing?
You know I love you, brother. This is a depressing episode.
Yeah, it's not great.
Oh my God.
Not great.
I'm so grateful. I was at Kevin's. I gotta share this. These stories are so hard for me, man. You're so authentic. I appreciate it. I really do. But they're so hard for me.
I'm crying because I'm laughing.
It gets worse. I'm excited for this. I hope that all the listeners know that I know Kevin very well at this point. I was at Kevin's wedding and I was crying during his first dance, and he's happily married. So it's funny now in hindsight, even though at the time, oh my God.
It was brutal. Yeah.
This is brutal.
It was one of the hardest years of my life.
It's easier to laugh when we know you climbed out, you know? Oh my 100%. Goodness. So I hope everyone knows that.
Yeah.
I'm being
It's just super funny for me because it's almost like you flip a switch. It's like you're holding it, and then the floodgates open.
Oh man. Whew. Rock Bottom has a basement for sure.
Yeah, Rock Bottom has a basement. I'm not going to share what I was originally going to share because we were laughing, and I feel like I don't think it's an appropriate time to share it just because it's dark. It's fairly dark. But I don't know. I just wanted to do an episode on this because I don't know if we understand how much heartbreak changes us. That's when I got my stuff together. That was not immediately. In the very beginning, I was sitting around and just debating everything. This is when I got back into writing music. I was not writing music before this. And when she left, I started writing. That night, I started writing. I remember I was writing that night. And I was like, I'm going to start recording myself doing music. That happened. One of the first pieces of social media content, in terms of video content, that I ever did around self-improvement was life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. That was based on the fact that I got my heart broken and I kept going and I tried to get better. I got a lot of confidence after, not in the beginning. I dated for the first time ever. Consistently, like I had my own place. I was going out on dates. That had never happened before. So there was a lot of good that came from it. But again, it's in the short run, in the interim, it is fairly horrible. It is not great to get your heart broken. Definitely. But you learn so much about yourself. So that really, my next level nugget for this episode is don't share your vulnerabilities with people because they're going to, no, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. You and I are, Alan and I have
tell me some of the parts that I've never heard before.
That's the goal.
You know?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the same thing.
There's a couple stories of, you know, what I think of is like, you know how every movie starts with just some character who just hits rock bottom and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's because I know you climbed out that it's funny now because it's just, oh my God, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. And you tell it pretty well. So anyways.
I appreciate it. Well, here's the other thing too. I'm crying because I was laughing so hard. When my girlfriend left me, I was still, so work got slow. And then I was just kind of hanging out at home, which is brutal. I'm just like sitting around the house all day. Not exactly what you want to be doing when you just got your heart broken. You need to be moving. I was not moving. When work got busy, though, this was terrible. Okay. I want you to imagine this. No laughing.
I'm trying.
Okay.
I got this. We're good.
You won't laugh. And even if you do, it doesn't matter. I would get up and pack my bags on Sunday. I would get in the work van and drive 7 hours to another state, okay? I'd work 5 8-hour days. Friday, we work 7 to 3, leave at 3. I get home at anywhere from midnight to 2 in the morning because of traffic, and I have to go to the office. I walk into this apartment. The heat is on 62 degrees because I'm gone all week, and it's freezing when I walk in there. Freezing, where I have to walk around in my sweatshirt.
Up in New Hampshire.
It's cold up there. And I just remember the feeling of walking into this place, and it is so quiet. And it is so lonely, and the energy. You know, you can feel energy. Like when there's someone home, you can feel it. There was none of that. And I would just sit around and wait to go to bed. It was like, well, it's 2 a.m. I don't really want to go to bed because I'm wired, because I just drove 7 hours and I'm living on energy drinks. And then if I go to bed, tomorrow is Saturday, and then I have Saturday, and then I leave again Sunday. Like, I don't really want to go to bed. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to do anything. I have nothing to do. I don't really have anybody to talk to. Nobody else is awake. Nobody else that I know is awake. Nobody lives within an hour and a half of where I live, so
You've really turned it around, man. I'm
just
impressed.
I'm just gonna go to bed.
Super meaningful life
at
this stage. You know?
I also had
never forget that stuff, man. It's so
never,
important.
never. I had a bedroom that had nothing in it. You know this because you came.
I've been to your place. Yeah,
you came up.
I came up for your episode 4 or something, 7, 6.
Well, I'm sure things were probably better then than at this
definitely.
point.
Yeah, you had furniture. You know what I mean? You did. I remember you had Nutella.
Of course, I had
some
Nutella.
Protein.
Huge fan. So
you had a vision board, which was basically just tattered printer paper
scratch
on like a cork board.
I wanted better. I just didn't always know how to do better. So again,
you talk about messy action. You just threw some markers together. And
I tried
my best. A vision board of just written stuff. Yeah.
So 2 thoughts. Worst case scenario, you're going through heartbreak right now. It does not mean, again, listen to this. Like, a lot has happened, but I was able to luckily build momentum and keep going. Best case scenario, maybe you're in an amazing relationship right now and you can look back and this will create a little bit of extra necessity, a little bit of extra gratitude, which we're going to talk about later in the week, for where you are today. Heartbreak is one of those things where it makes you question everything. Hopefully. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's bad to feel down and out after heartbreak. I think it's a great opportunity for you to look in the proverbial mirror. Is it proverbial or proverbial?
I think it's proverbial.
Whatever it is, that you look into that mirror, and you get lessons, and you take those lessons with you. That is my epic 13-minute monologue.
Heartbreak. I told Kev, uncomfortable topic. Obviously, one of my reactions to discomfort is laughing, apparently.
Same. Hey.
Apologize.
No, you're good, because I'm probably going to do it too. So.
Yeah, Kev, what is it when I tell certain stories, you're so afraid to smile?
Alan has this story called the Teddy story. He's told it one time on this podcast, I think.
Yeah.
I think you told it when we were in your sister's old bedroom studio. And I remember biting the inside of my mouth so I wouldn't smile because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to laugh if he starts crying. Not that I think it's funny. That is my trauma response. When I used to get in trouble in high school, I would laugh. It's like, this is probably not ideal because they're going to think I don't care.
Definitely not a good idea. They need to show, you're supposed to show remorse.
Yes, I have
some sort of.
It's there, but it's hidden behind this trauma response.
It's hidden behind this trauma response. Yeah. Which is why, now you're hilarious. So it's good.
Maybe. Thank you.
We all have these different parts, and one of Kevin's protectors is a comedian, which is honestly awesome because the more we grind, there have been some times where that comedian has made this journey tolerable.
Grateful to add something,
I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Eddie Pinero. I'm the founder of Your World Within, and I wanted to take a second and just express how valuable working with Alan has been. His ability to help me create clarity and maintain focus on my big picture goals has been huge. He's been a huge asset with the roadmap as well. The day-to-day things, the little things that we sometimes overlook. I think anyone looking to, grow themselves, grow a business or both, would truly benefit from having Alan as an ally along the way. Again, great mind, but more importantly, solid dude.
So, okay, heartbreak. This is my sort of unique version of what Kevin just shared. I have had really 5 really serious relationships in my life. First serious girlfriend was when I was a junior in high school, becoming a senior, tail end of junior year. Then my next serious girlfriend was 4.5 years, and that was through the tail end of high school and college. A lot of college, not all of college. Then I had a post-college relationship. I actually lived with that person. And that was a 5-year relationship. And then I had another 2.5-year relationship with the first person that I actually used to be with in high school 10 years earlier. And that person and I broke up. And this was my lonely land. And lonely land to me is the Emilia, my current partner now, soulmate, honestly. She has this concept called the growth journey, and it's a mountain, and it's broken into 3 parts. Simple. I've talked about this before, but for new listeners, I'll go quick. There's old world, which is the bottom of the mountain, without climbing, essentially. Again, metaphor. Then the middle is lonely land, and this is where you kind of have to take a leap of faith, take a risk, leave the old world, and embark on this epic journey. Like Kev getting left was essentially a leap of faith of, okay, let me try to do this job, let me try to build a new life, let me try to date new people, that kind of thing. And then there's the tail end, the top of the mountain, which is essentially new world. And new world, I would say, is when he met Taryn and took another leap of faith, risking his heart being broken again, but luckily that one has worked out. But it takes risk, it takes vulnerability, it takes courage. Okay, so for me, and then rinse and repeat, by the way, with different phases and all that. I, after that breakup, hit my own rock bottom, which was, the best way I can articulate this is I was so lonely. I had left old world. I didn't really have any friends. It's not like I couldn't have friends, but there weren't a lot of people other than Kevin that were trying to do what I was trying to do and that were passionate about what I was passionate about. And I remember, this is how lonely I got. I would stay at Panera because Panera had bottomless coffee, and I love my caffeine. And I love productivity, and those two go hand in hand, and they have good Wi-Fi. So I remember this one Panera, it's in Worcester, and I would frequent 2 different Paneras. There was one in Millbury that was really nice, and then there's one in Worcester. And I love Panera, big fan. Bottomless coffee, great food, huge salads, portions are great. And I remember frequently, and I'm talking for a couple weeks in a row, I would close down this Panera, for lack of better phrasing, and I remember I would pick myself up from my AirPods working, and so single and so alone. And they would say, hey, you have to go now. We're closing, you know? And that was that's a really good representation of my life at that point. We had the podcast, I had clients. We were tracking our habits. We were tracking these things. We were building, but I had no friends really. And I didn't really have any. I had some different people that I could have hung out with, but I didn't really want to because I didn't really like them very much. I didn't like them romantically, what I mean. And I had a couple really close friends, luckily. And by close friends, I mean one client was really close to me, and then I had Bianca, actually, who I still coach, and me and her were getting very close. And she's still a dear friend. But I didn't really know where I fit, and I was dealing with heartbreak for sure. At that point, I honestly had to have that conversation with myself of, am I okay with being alone for the rest of my life if that's what it takes to stay on this mission, to stay on this journey? And my answer was yes, as much as that's going to suck. And fortunately, it wasn't too long after that. I want to say maybe 8 months of that, 7 or 8 months of that. And I met Emilia. And after Emilia and I met, I mean, it was the soul's recognition of its counterpoint in another. It was, we have been inseparable to an extreme extent ever since. And my old self wouldn't have believed this was even possible. And so, heartbreak. Lonely land sucks. It always has and it always will. But when you spend time alone, you learn about yourself because you're not distracted. I know that COVID for a lot of people was lonely land. Their own sort of flavor of lonely land because you were kind of forced to stay home and contemplate and reflect on your life. And Kevin and I go on a lot of podcasts now, thanks to Laura. Shout out to Laura. But on these podcasts, a lot of them started during COVID.
Yeah.
And when you hear their stories, they all talk about how, well, I was forced to stay home, and I used to go to the office, and then I worked from home and realized I wasn't really passionate about my job. Lonely Land is where real transformation happens. And there's a lot of different chapters of Lonely Land. I would say that was one of the biggest, where I was just closing down Panera, basically living at the studio. I remember I used to book the hotel across the street instead of going home.
I remember you told me that. You're like, yeah, I think they gave me the room for free. And then you stayed there like 2 more times. Like, they didn't give me the room for free. I think it was like $230 a night. It's like, okay, man. You didn't take it easy.
That's my bad.
You live 15 minutes away. Go home.
I know. No, I didn't want to.
I know.
I didn't want to. I wanted to live at the studio. The studio was productivity heaven. But honestly, that was a dark-ish time. But I think that you find the light in the dark. And so last thing I'll share is I have this quote that I haven't shared in a long time. And it's the stars are always there during the day, but sometimes it takes the darkness to see clearly that which you simply could not within the light. And I think that that's what Lonely Land is. So whether it's Kevin and his story that is just super depressing, or my really depressing story of, hey, you need to leave now, getting kicked out of Panera on a Saturday night, mind you, when everyone else is with their friends. What is your Lonely Land? What is your heartbreak? And more importantly, how do you grow from it? What do you learn about yourself? And how do you make it meaningful I think that's really what it is how do you make it meaningful? What are the stars that you wouldn't have seen otherwise about yourself and others? And how do you make it matter and make it meaningful by trying to make something of it?
I remember the first time I ever heard you say that quote. You were still living at your mom's, and we were podcasting at that point. I don't know if it was in your sister's old bedroom or the basement. But Alan lived on a small lake, big pond, and we were outside one night after we recorded late, and you said that. We were sitting, Alan had 2 chairs by the water. We were sitting down by the water, and you said that for the first time.
The Adirondack chairs.
We broke one, and your mother was very angry at us.
Yeah. Those things, in our defense, were on their way out.
Yeah, they were pieces of crap. They'd been there for a minute.
Yeah, they're more decorative than useful.
Yes. Last thing before we go. I've said this. I remember saying this long before I ever had any clue why I was saying any of the things I was saying. It just seemed to make sense to me. One of the reasons after you get your heart broken that it's so valuable to be alone for a while is you figure out who you really are when you're just you. When you're not trying to match someone else, when you're not trying to fit in to somebody else's life, when you're just you, you have time to work on yourself and figure out what that means. Yes, I know it sounded very sad the way everything went, but that really was the scene in the movie where it goes from absolute garbage to starting to trend up. That's when that was in my life. I remember I went shopping and got a bunch of new clothes, and I was on the dating apps meeting people, and I was going out to dinner, and I was going out to drinks, and I was starting to build confidence. And so much good came from that. I was third wheeling.
You used to go to the mall and just talk to people?
I would go to the mall and just talk to people. Yeah. It was a very important time. I think getting your heart broken creates so much necessity. Mm-hmm. It creates so much necessity. Just like losing your job might create necessity. Just like getting an injury might create necessity. Getting your heart broken creates so much necessity to figure out who you are, what you want, where you went wrong, and don't fall into the trap of thinking it's always your partner's fault. I definitely did in the beginning, because I've had a lot of people, when I'm on another podcast, they'll say that. Like, my ex-partner was right. She should have gone and chased her dreams, and she did the right thing. She should have left me, for sure. At the time, I didn't think that. At the time, I wasn't that clear-headed. I've had a lot of time to reflect, and I've told the story so many times that now it seems like it makes a lot of sense to me. But one of my favorite things to talk about, one of my favorite quotes, I am at least 50% of the screw-ups in my relationships. I've never had a successful relationship up until the one that I have right now. I'm at least 50%. I'm some percentage in the lack of success. And I think that's just important to understand, that maybe you didn't play the majority role in a heartbreak. Maybe you did everything you could. You were the absolute best version of yourself. I'm not saying you weren't, but there's definitely lessons in there for you. And the lessons go much deeper than my partner was blank, 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 and blank. there's always some opportunity for us to grow and learn through that. So that would be my long, drawn-out next level nugget for this episode.
I often talk on the Conscious Couples podcast about, I know that Emilia and I are on these microphones and we're talking about all these amazing things we do together. And Emilia said on our last episode, which is really cool, because coming from her, I say things like this, our relationship is amazing and all that stuff. But hearing her say it on the mic is just different. Because she was saying that this is by far the most magnificent, beyond her wildest dreams relationship she's ever had, and she never thought she could have a partner like me. It's just weird to hear her say that to an audience, while I'm right there. It's like, oh my God, I am the man, Just joking. But it's nice to see, because at the end of the day, I think that's really what I'm playing for. If strangers think Kevin and I are great, that's awesome, but it's not really the truth, because you don't live with us. If Emilia and Taryn think the world of us, I think that's a much more accurate conclusion, and that's really what we're playing for. But anyways, so on the podcast, we share these things, and we say, I know that it sounds like our relationship is perfect and XYZ, and in all honesty, I would be lying if I said it wasn't unbelievable and by far beyond what I thought it could be. But remember, I was losing in relationships for 30 years. I didn't figure this out until I was 29 years old. I met Emilia in October of when I was 29. And so she was at my 30th birthday. So I was losing, for the most part, for 30 years. And it makes me think of that meme where there's two sides to the cartoon, and one side it says failure, 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 and it's stacked up and it's crushing the person in the meme. And then there's the other side, which is a staircase, failure, 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 failure. And I think that that's the best analogy for heartbreak and for Lonely Land. You're going to, excuse me, you're going to learn something. There goes my punchline.
I can't.
You're going to learn something valuable if you can stay in Lonely Land and look for those stars, those bright spots and those dark spots. And I guess the last thing I'll share is, from a coaching perspective, what Kevin's been saying on this episode, he says now, okay, she should have left me. What really was happening, and this is my clinical/coaching perspective, so take this with a grain of salt.
Wait, is this advice for me?
Yeah, no. This is advice. This is just my perspective. I got
to prepare myself. That's for me.
I think that you were I think what happened when she left you is your deepest fear was met. You were afraid to lose her. You were afraid to never get someone like that again. You were afraid to be alone, whatever. Stack the fears. Once she leaves, now you're not playing scared anymore because your deepest fear already happened.
Quite the contrary.
Talk to me.
I knew she was going to leave. I knew it was a matter of time. When she left,
so it was a relief when she...
I was actually kind of grateful, because it was like, okay, no, that's done. Now, when I say kind of grateful, I mean very minimally.
But that's my point. You don't have to hang on so damn tight anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why I think you started expanding after, is because instead of playing not to lose, even though you knew it was going to happen, you're now playing to win. And by win, I mean grow. And so you started getting outside your comfort zone. You started buying clothes. You started taking care of yourself. You started talking to strangers in the mall. You started reaching out to mentors and reading books. And I think that's awesome. So Lonely Land sucks. Make it suck less by doing something with it. That's my next level nugget.
I would concur. Next Level Nation, if you have not yet joined our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation, please do, and maybe you'll get a shout out like Callie/Kaylee did. Maybe you're going through heartbreak. Maybe right now you are struggling financially. Maybe you're struggling with mental, physical, emotional health. Next Level Nation is a great place to be safe and find other people who are on the growth journey. Really, when we tell stories like this, it's just a representation of what the growth journey has been. Yes, there's been some funny times. Yes, there's been some terrible times, ups and downs. You have your own unique version of that. If you don't want to feel alone in that journey, please join our private Facebook group. Link will be in the show notes below.
Brandon said one time, I don't understand why everyone doesn't come to book club. It's like free coaching. And it's not just from me, but from everyone in book club. You get coached by the book. You get coached by the other members. It's kind of like take an awesome idea and contemplate it with 15 people every week. And then a new idea every week. So you're going to expand your consciousness. You're going to grow. You're going to learn. There's no question. It's Next Level Books with Next Level People. Click the link in the show notes. And we hope to see you there.
I don't remember. So I know what episode. This was our notes about the episode that we're doing tomorrow. This is the episode where we're talking about don't shoot for a level 10 goal if in an area, if you only value it at a level 4. Was that we were talking about what you care about and why that's important?
Yeah, I have a client who I had a really honest conversation with him about fitness because he is crushing it in every area, studying every day, winning in finance, all this stuff. And in fitness, he's just letting it ride. And I said, maybe that's okay. Maybe you don't care that much. And maybe it's not a core value for you. And he and I had an honest conversation about that. And I think that's going to bring a lot of value.
All right. So maybe tomorrow's episode will be don't kid yourself about what you care about. That's what we'll do tomorrow.
It's fire.
Not bad. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep making something of Lonely Land. Next Level Nation.